Canadian news from 1940. The education of the new Canadian. That's an interesting one. Fighter pilots. Rocket research. Luck is the residue of desire. Saskatchewan's war on the grasshopper. That's an interesting thing. Ornamental swimming. How ale is made. Blood. 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 I know this title. Blood.
When you put two on top of each other, try to make sure they don't end at the same spot.
Yeah, maybe you should come. Right on the corner there's your. Okay. Need another one there.
One of the sort of interesting but sometimes frustrating things about being in conservation is that we rarely have the real stories behind where our objects come from. We're so interested in the materiality. So this photo comes in and I'm wondering when it was made, how it was made, what kind of damage has happened to it, and what needs to be done to stabilize it. But it means that I don't have that story.
Oh, what were we talking about?
Yeah, so there's the gouge.
Oh, yeah, the
here,
gouge.
and you were finding.
Yeah, this is like painted on the photograph. These black areas.
Yeah, and through here as well.
Oh yeah, this is what we were talking about. Is this 2 pieces of paper? This line is interesting.
I think it is. Over here,
It looks like it's bellowing there, but
Yeah.
it goes in.
Mm-hmm. So this is the Montreal Lacrosse Club. All of our active participants, I think, are down, and then we've got some women. There's one child at least.
Oh, yeah.
In the spectator box.
But usually there's no women, right?
Mhm.
Usually lacrosse, all the other ones there's no images of women because it's
Yeah.
the men's teams, right?
And once again, the lacrosse players, some of them are in sort of more actiony poses. And Mr. Lounge here, I'm not entirely sure what the thinking was on that. There's some great legs here. Actually, they're lacrosse players. There's a lot of really good legs.
And this guy looks very sad. Look, he's looking down on his head.
Yeah.
But he looks like he's lost something, but very sad.
This one is a lot of mustaches, but I love this era because some of the facial hair is really impressive. We've got some giant mutton chops going on.
Oh yeah, here's one nice one.
And, But it is interesting that the larger central figures, the processing seems better than a lot of the guys in the back. They've got better contrast than some of the others. Maybe it's just because of I'm only seeing the faces.
I wonder, like fillers. Do you think they were like, we need to fill it up?
Yeah.
But yeah, the dogs. Always dogs.
Mm-hmm. I think that's it. There's very sort of human aspects with the dogs.
But you know what we should do, Elspeth? Would be interesting, and to check the dogs and see if they're the same dogs in all the photos. That would be fun. Anyways, I'm looking forward to this. This will be fun.
Yeah, it's gonna be fun. This is a photograph that just came back. It's a studio portrait, which is a situation where people would usually get dressed up, be presenting their best. But it's a photo of 3 Indigenous children, 2 girls and a boy, and we don't know their name. And their clothing doesn't suit the situation at all. They're wearing uniforms, their hair isn't brushed, and it's set up to tell a specific story. The label says "the children we seek to help," which tells us that it was used in some kind of way as a propaganda. This is to express that these children were poor, that they weren't able to take care of themselves, and that they needed people to step in and care for them, which was very much the narrative for Indigenous children, why they were taken into residential schools at the time. Where this name of the studio is, the studio has actually been scratched out, and that's really unusual, and it's very intentional. Somebody decided that either they didn't want their studio's name associated with the photo, or the owner of the photo didn't want to be associated with the studio. And so it's always interesting to see who is named in these things and who is lost.
taking a quick look at what the condition is like and if any of this, what the splices are like. So I want to make sure the splices go through the machine nicely. Like there's a splice here. This is just something to be wary for, is like this notch here. So it probably the perf's cracked along it, and at some point they optically printed it to copy it, and so they just cut the damage out. So it's always something to worry about. And then there's a splice right after it. So it's tactile, right? You can actually, you know, put it up to the light and you can see what it is. Digital, it's just, you know, or magnetic, like videotape, it's just, we kind of joke that we work with silver and video guys work with rust. Right? Because magnetic tape is. Right. 100-year-old hard drive, I don't think it would spin up. And would you be able to read the files on it? I don't know. We have trouble reading files from the 90s and 80s as it is.
Hello, this is Ruby Mercer in New York.
Ruby Mercer.
And today,
She was very
we're
famous.
going to explore
Canadian,
the world of opera that we've been talking about with our guests
chanteuse.
for
She
the
was a
last
Canadian
few
kind
days.
of a diva in her own right,
Explore it
but she hosts
with guests
radio programs.
of another kind, dramatic guests.
Doesn't she have that great
Joseph
1940s
Cotton,
voice?
Deborah Carr.
We're fighting a battle here against time. So we're moving our way through the collection chronologically from the oldest discs to the newest ones, just based on the assumption the oldest discs are more likely to be at risk. This disc from 1949 may be in better shape than a disc from 1959. But it all depends on how it was manufactured, how it was stored. So there's one thing we're battling against. Number two, we're battling against obsolescence in terms of equipment. The tape has a great longevity. It lasts and stores well, but the machines to play them back aren't made anymore. In fact, the parts aren't made anymore. So we have a collection of about 20 of these Studer two-track reel-to-reel machines. They're all about 30 years old, and it's only because they were built by the Swiss and they're built like tanks that they're still running. So not only are the machines facing obsolescence, the technical culture that understands this technology is disappearing. Okay, I'll play you this. I know I get a kick out of this. And it's this strange little kind of French-Canadian folk song. Like there's a big tradition in French-Canadian folk song where someone will sing a verse and then people will repeat it, like kind of as a group vocal, right? But this one is about the little dog that was sent into space by the Russians.
La fin du monde approche, j'aime mieux pas y penser. Avec toutes les Spoutniks, on va bientôt sauter. La bombe à hydrogène, bombe atomique pas mieux, sont choses du passé. Avec le Spoutnik 2, je sais vraiment pas ce qui arrivera. Avec le Spoutnik 3, d'Orvis, là le Spoutnik, j'ai assez peur que j'ai la jaunisse.
This one I thought was a particularly great mashup of 50s space culture and Quebecois fiddling, and it's just perfect. See, you guys love it too. How can you not love it? Anyway, I'll skip to the end.